What's going on, guys? Ted from Immersion here, and it's time for your DM's Guild Spotlight. This week I have a very interesting adventure. It's set for level 5 characters, but I think with a little tweaking you could easily upscale or downscale it. So, we jump right into this. It's called the Maze Beneath the Maize. A little clever play on words here. It's by Broken Knives, the adventure. I guess it's... yeah, that's the name of the company, and this is one of their adventures in an ongoing series, which I'll talk more about. But they actually approached me about doing a review of this, so I figured I'd talk about it. I really like this adventure. It uses oozes as the primary enemy. There's a lot of background, which I'll go into, and we can actually check out the preview that they have here on the DM's Guild website to kind of get you an idea of what's going on. But let's take a little read through the description here. So, all around the sleepy town of Stawford lies rich farmland. The area near the foothills is especially fertile. Well, was especially fertile. First the Sundering, and now frequent earthquakes have left the region in disarray. The dead center of the chaos is the Thuriel, I guess, farmstead. It takes place in the Forgotten Realms in a made-up town known as Stawford. They're excited to offer this first premium release. This is their first release that does require a monetary payment, so $5.95, which I do think is worth it, but let's keep reading here. Unique open-ended mystery that unfolds as the characters delve deeper, can be easily adapted or dropped into any Forgotten Realms campaign, custom monsters with unique artwork, custom magic items, 3 new maps, maze map, and 2 battle maps. They are high resolution, print quality, optimized for your favorite digital or real tabletop. And then they have a link down here to check their other products, which I believe I already have open. Oh, I don't have this open. Okay, we're gonna open this. We're gonna look through that. So it deals with a lot of stuff regarding Red Wizards, and it is part of their like larger adventure series that they've kind of custom created. So here's the preview. You can view this on the Dungeon Master Guild. Anybody can view this. I will tell you, again, here's a link. This main character, Hone, or I don't know how you pronounce it, the Red Wizard, is part of an ongoing series about the Aberrant Ancient. His actions led to the creation of the maze itself, which is the main function of this adventure. And the players will meet him at the end of the adventure. You can look up more information by clicking, I think it takes you here, to their website. So you can see all this stuff here. So, why do I like... Oh, you know what? Let's go through the preview, and then I'll tell you why I like this adventure. So, there is a lot of background, very rich background information about the characters involved, which I think is important, especially if you're going to try to drop this into your existing campaign, or you want to try to make this a large crux of your campaign. You're going to need a lot of background information, and it's all here in these kind of black sidebars here. Tells you, what you're going to need to run it. There's a lot of, intrigue and how things are going to come in. Adventure hooks, if you know anything about me, I'm a huge fan of adventure hooks. I think they're something, I wouldn't say they're necessary for a campaign in Dungeons & Dragons, but it's great to have a way to have your characters tied into the storyline, so they're at least somewhat invested from the get-go, and then, things can develop as time goes along. So here are some options for adventure hooks. They talk a little bit here about a wily merchant named Gregorio who the players can meet. There is a Pay What You Like, Gregorio's Traveling Emporium and Menagerie, another one of their releases. This is a Barovian Ravenloft theme encounter. Should be about 30 minutes, it says here. Very solid as far as reviews go. I haven't played it myself, but I haven't played anything in Ravenloft in 5th edition, so I haven't really had a need to, but there's a little information about him if you would like to, it's right down here, if you'd like to have him be part of the adventure hook. You can see the maps, high quality maps. This is the map of the actual farmland where you're going to kind of, the start of your adventure is. Areas called out to read to the players, information for backgrounds. Varying degrees of both combat and skill checks in varying levels, even for a 5th level character. Like, a 20 persuasion check could get this guy to up the amount of gold that he's going to give you. He'll give you 1,000 gold to kind of clear out anything dangerous in the maze. and a DC 20 persuasion check he'll give you up to 1100. And even as a higher level character, DC 20 on anything is still fairly difficult. Again, more information about Hugh himself, the character. Again, a lot more background information about the Red Wizards and those involved. And then, again, more about the Red Wizards and a little bit about how, they basically do, I will say I like this, they call out and they say, hey, you're probably not going to want to do Theater of the Mind. This is a maze-based encounter. Since it's a maze, you kind of need to actually visually see it. I'm sorry, my phone is making a lot of noise. I'm going to try to stop that. There we go. So they say, you're probably going to want to run this with a battle mat. Or if you're doing it online, put on Fog of War if you have the ability to do so. They do also include handouts, which is something else, as you know, or if you know about me, that I really like. When adventures include some sort of handout, physical props that you can hand to your players, pieces of a map. The map is actually broken into 3 pieces. Depending on how you want to do that, you can hand different fragments to the players, and they can try to figure out what fits where and what is the overall map. So, that is the preview information. So I'm going to run through on another screen here more about things that develop further along. So they do add, again, as I said, oozes are the primary villain monster of this type. Although there are, again, spellcasters, a lot of Red Wizard related things. There's teleportation magic. There's a ton of different skill checks. There's traps. They have a random encounter table in here as well for areas called out in the maze. Like if you see a skull, roll X die and see what comes up. Every 30 or 40 minutes, roll this. If you get a 1 or a 2 or what have you, then the players encounter this. So they have that covered. They do a fairly good job of describing the setting and the environment of the backgrounds. I'm sorry, of the maze itself. There are 3 custom magic items. I will read to you one of them. I think they are all unique, and the one I'm going to read to you I think is really, really cool. So, long story short, there was something in this maze that was there to kind of guard and defend against enemies and any kind of interlopers in the maze. And this guardian wore plate armor of etherealness, which is a very, very powerful magical item. I will get you the exact description. We got the DM's guide right here. I think that might be a legendary. I mean, first of all, it's plate armor, so that's an 18 AC. Legendary, plate armor of etherealness. While wearing this armor, you can speak a command word to gain the effect of the etherealness spell for 10 minutes or until you remove the armor. That's once a day. So, essentially, this guardian in the maze had this plate armor of etherealness. However, now, after having to deal with consistent threats of ooze and things like that, and the acidic stuff from the ooze, it's basically just worn the armor down so it's just scraps and useless. The only one thing that's kind of remained is one of the gauntlets is still got the magic. So it's a glove of etherealness, which is like a plate armored glove that you can put on your hand, and it still works. It will give you the effect of the etherealness spell for 1 6-second round, and it can't be used again until the next dawn. But that's really cool. I like the concept of it. There's a lot of flavor behind that item. I'm going to try to, having read this, I think I'm going to try to incorporate this idea into my campaigns more. Where there might be like this really awesome type of armor, but it got destroyed or broken, so you can get like a piece of it and it gives you a lesser effect of what the armor was. Again, more maps as you're going through. They have an area for random treasure. Like I told you, they had the random encounters where, like, if you see a skull on the map, roll a die and see what they get. If you see a treasure chest on the map, you roll on the individual treasure table for challenge ratings 5 to 10 to just determine how much gold they randomly find. So this could be an extremely lucrative dungeon for your players to go into, not to mention the 1,000 gold reward at the start. but it could be even more so if you roll high on the percentiles for the individual treasures. Again, they go so far as to talk about different things like there are a lot of, there's a lot of defeated res wizards in this that are dead or long since dead. They have a whole section on if your players have the ability to cast Speak with Dead, this is the kind of information they know. If your players cast Detect Thoughts on X person or X person, this is the information that they'll find. Those are very specific things, but those are very useful things to have as a DM if your players are creative and kind of try to find other ways to get, you know, weasel information out of NPCs. Whole big section, there's a couple of decisions, big choice moments that the players can make one way or another. Large drawn out descriptions for what will happen if they do X or Y or X and then Y. And a really cool new ooze, which I'm going to read you. It's called the Habilis Ooze. Is a unique creature that has the ability to adapt to nearly any environment. These oozes are blank templates until they encounter outside stimuli, at which point they gain new abilities. I'll just tell you it's a generic ooze for the most part, but the really cool feature about it is whenever it takes damage from any type of damage source, it gains resistance to that damage type at the beginning of its next turn, and then it gains the ability to do that damage type when it does its attacks. So, like, if you're like, oh man, it's an ooze, let me hit that with radiant damage, and then it goes to its turn, the next turn, it is now resistant to radiant damage, and it can choose to do radiant damage. So depending on if you like switch it up and hit with a different type of damage, then it'll deal that kind of damage and be resistant to it. I think that's a really cool concept of an adapting enemy. Could kind of be really annoying for your players, especially because oozes have so many immunities at the start. They also have they do something really nice since it's part of the open game license. They include the other types, like there's a couple of homebrew oozes that they've made, but they do use other oozes like a gelatinous cube and ochre jelly and so on. They include the information for those monsters at the end of the PDF, so you don't have to reference your monster manual. You can just use this. So yeah, that is Maze Beneath the Maize. I think it is definitely a solid... and again, like I said, there's the handout at the end with the different fragments of the map. Yeah, I think it's a very solid 5th level adventure. I love to run this in my game, but my players just hit level 13. I could scale everything up, you know, red wizards, make them higher level casters, just boost up and tweak, you know everything's like black pudding or whatever it is, higher level oozes. As far as time frame to get through this, depending on how your players go, I could see this being a solid session-worthy adventure, 3 hours depending, especially if you have more players and they have more things to do and they want to go off in different areas of the maze, split the party. But it's definitely good. I can't wait to see more information and more adventures from the folks here at Broken Knives. They said that this is going to be, the information is going to be continued in, let me see, I'll find the exact wording here. The story will continue, the story of the Aberrant Ancient will continue in the Bones of the Wizard and the Skull Upon the Heights. So there is plans for future adventures to continue this storyline. So if you do slot this into your adventure and then your players kind of move on and think nothing of it, and these other adventure modules come out and you like them, you can swing them right back in. And that's always fun to bring something back that players thought was kind of pointless, and then you bring it back and you're like, oh, by the way, that thing you dealt with 10 levels or 5 levels ago, guess what? It's coming back and it's bigger. So that's the review of the Maze Beneath the Maize. I think it's great. I think $5.95 is a fairly solid price for that. I could see if players wanted to knock it down a little bit, but, you know, a lot of the stuff that's available on the DM's Guild is pay what you want. So I don't really know what's a good marker for paid content versus not. I think $6 for a full-blown adventure that will link into future things is a fairly solid price point. Trying to think, I mean, it's one campaign, but it does help to establish, or one session probably, maybe two, depending on how long, how your players deal with things. But it's $6 for at minimum 3 hours of entertainment for your players, and it helps to further establish small towns and enrich your Forgotten Realms based campaign. So I think that's worth it. I would pay for it. Definitely. Let's look at some of the other stuff that Broken Knives has. We looked at this kind of blog here, BrokenKnives.com, for the Skull, the Aberrant Ancient, a little more background information. We saw Gregario's Traveling Emporium and Menagerie. The Boatman's Dog is another. This is a low-level encounter, again, for Ravenloft, or your homebrew campaign. Boatman's Dog serves the finest cuisine, much finer than the establishment of its stature should be serving. At the Dog, the fire is always crackling, the ale is always cold, but guests go missing, and no one is sure whether the charismatic halfling proprietor, Angus Thickheel, is getting his meat. So, sounds pretty interesting to me. I might check this one out as well, because this is a tavern-based encounter from what I can tell. So this should be fairly easy to slot into any campaign. Even if it doesn't have much in the way of combat, but just has, intrigue and mystery and, like, sleuthing stuff, that's always fun as well. So let's see, what else have they done? We looked at the Maze, Gregorio, Boatman's Dog. 3d6 random character generator. What's this? Simple system is designed to help you create a randomized D&D character with a roll of only 3 dice. Let's see, can we pull up the preview on this one? Maybe. Yes. Sorry, my computer's been acting a little slow lately. Roll 3d dice, 1 red, 1 green, 1 blue. Your stats will always be the standard array. Red and blue determine your class and 2 primary stats. Green and red determine your race. Blue and green determine the order of your secondary stats and your background. Red determines whether you're lawful, neutral, or chaotic. Green determines whether you're good or evil. Well, there you go. Solid. I don't know if I would use that, because personally, I spend a lot of my time infusing my NPCs to make them interesting. So I don't really do a lot of random character generation, but if that's something that you struggle with and want to have characters on the fly, that might be worth looking into. Again, it is pay what you want, so keep that in mind. And we got a couple more things. So we've got the Crumbling Wall. What is that? A mysterious bard sits atop a crumbling wall deep in the forest. What secrets are told in his sonorous tunes? Crumbling Wall is a short encounter, hopefully no more than 30 to 45 minutes, for first-level characters set in Ravenloft, Forgotten Realms, or your homebrew campaign. Then 3 character archetypes. The Wizard class, the School of Scrolls, the Barbarian class, Path of the Consumed, and the Bard class, the Path of Harmony. Or College of Harmony. I've seen a lot of College of Harmony out there, so I'm not sure how this differs from others. Natural Born Manipulator, our Bardic Inspiration, and the Friends cantrip to make you a great manipulator. Okay. Path of the Consumed. Based on the idea the character is driven by an inner darkness within him that compels us towards carnage on the battlefield. Supplement your battle prowess, mobility, and intimidation to become an untethered machine of destruction. That sounds pretty good. And the Scribblers here, the School of Scrolls. Sure, spellbooks have a place, but they require preparation. The true flexibility lies in scrolls. They also provide a sample NPC with an adventure hook for DMs and a short section on how wizards of the school fit in Ravenloft. So there you go, guys. That's the Maze Beneath the Maize, and a little bit of information about what you can find from the folks at Broken Knives here on the DMs Guild. Or you can head over to their website, which is BrokenKnives.com. Yeah. So again, if you guys saw something on the Dungeon Master Guild that you'd like for me to review, please shoot me an email, comment on this video, hit me up on social media, whichever you prefer, and I will look into it. And chances are I have it already because I've acquired several things over time from the DM's Guild. I have hundreds of different modules and archetypes and things like that. So let me know if you saw something that you're curious about. Let me know. I'll review it, and then hopefully that'll help you make the decision whether you think it's worth purchasing, whether you think it's worth donating to any monetary amount, either pay what you want, whether it's actually worth your time to read through the article in the first place, even if it's free. So anyway, guys, I hope you like this video. You can click down below to subscribe if you like this. I put out one of these videos every week, along with an update for D&D, spotlights on gaming things on Kickstarter, stream once a week as well. So hope you guys like the video. Have a great weekend. If you're going to be at Too Many Games in Pennsylvania, I will see you there. Yeah, see you next time.